Hey guys, welcome back to another news collab video. We got a couple of topics to talk about today. I was not going to do one originally because really the one that I was going to talk about, which we'll talk about later, is the Cherry first look that came out, and then a little bit more about the whole Ray Fisher stuff that's going on. But then a bunch of other stuff dropped today, and I was like, well, you know what? I kind of need to do a video. Um, so we needed to address a lot of the news that's been going on lately, and just dive right in. Um, so yeah, let's talk about it. And forgive me if it's been a hot minute, since I've done a video. I've actually been diving back into some of the classics that I have either have seen or have never have seen. I'm just catching up on my library because I have a whole shelf filled with films that I've yet to watch yet, and some that I have watched but just have the urgency to just rewatch. Because I just did a just to give you an example, last night I did a double feature, two war films. I did Full Metal Jacket and Saving Private Ryan. Two films that I absolutely love to death. Saving Private Ryan being my favorite war film of all time. Full Metal Jacket probably right up there as my number two as well. Both incredible films. So it was great to revisit those films and notice some key details that I didn't notice before with my other viewings. But enough about that. Let's get into the to the modern world. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's been running around the internet in terms of news, because there's been some interesting stuff, and I wanted to give my 2 cents on it as always. And of course, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this stuff as well as we get into it. So without further ado, let's dive right in. The first thing we're going to talk about is, of course, Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3 had quite an interesting run in terms of how it was going to get released and ultimately where it was going to go within the Marvel spectrum. Well, finally, we have an answer, and that is this: Deadpool 3 is in fact an MCU movie, so it will be within the continuity, and it will be rated R. This is a quote from Kevin Feige, provided from Collider.com. So here's the quote. It will be rated R, and we are working on a script right now, and Ryan's overseeing a script right now. It will not be filming this year. Ryan is a very busy, very successful actor. We've got a number of things we've already announced that we now have to make, but it's exciting for it to have begun. Again, a very different type of character in the MCU, and Ryan is a force of nature, which is just awesome to see him bring that character to life. So, a couple of key things about that. One, the fact that it is rated R. He just came right out the gate and just said, of course it's going to be rated R. And that they are hard at work right now with it, getting a script together. And that Ryan is looking over it. And also, filming will not happen this year. So they're too busy right now with other projects, assumedly with a bunch of the TV shows that they're working on. So, Deadpool obviously does not fit there anywhere. So they're going to wait till next year to get ready for production on Deadpool 3. And Ryan Reynolds, of course, will be back to play Deadpool as well. How do I feel about all this? This is awesome. I mean, I don't know what is bad here. I mean, I know that some people probably are maybe wanting this to be a solo thing, maybe be a separate thing from the MCU, and that there was the scare that Marvel was gonna tone it down. That was definitely a scare of mine, just because one of my issues with the MCU is that the MCU is consistent, and consistent in the ways that I don't really like it. For instance, they have a formula that they kind of retread all the time. Only now are they starting to really realize that they can now expand on into different genres and ideas. Hence, WandaVision, which I'm actually quite interested to see. I think it comes out in like 4 days or so, I'm excited to see what that show looks like. But now hearing that Deadpool 3 was happening within the Marvel Studios, everyone was quite interested to know how that project was going to come out and the rating and all that stuff. There were murmurs that it was going to be PG-13, and I remember when I heard that, I was like, that's complete bullshit. You should not have Deadpool be PG-13. I mean, there's very rare occasions where certain characters just have to be a certain rating. Deadpool is definitely one of those. It has to be rated R. The violence, the cussing, like all that is a part of the character. It's not just something that's fun to use. It's ingrained in that character. So having an R rating is, automatic. Now, in terms of where it was going to fall in continuity, whether it would be in continuity or not, was one of the big questions as well. And for a while, I said they might just do a solo thing because at the time, before I heard anything about WandaVision and before I heard anything about all those other projects, Loki, um, I thought that they were just going to keep going on the same formula for a long time because I don't get me wrong. I mean, I do like the MCU. I'm not trying to, crap all over the MCU. I do enjoy the films. I've noticed this similar formula that does get tiresome, and it does affect my viewing a lot of the times, particularly with the recent MCU films. I've just not been as attached to them as many of other people have been. For instance, I didn't love Avengers Endgame. I'll admit it, I wasn't big on it. I mean, I think that there was a lot of good things about it, but I was kind of emotionally distant from it because of that formula just being retreaded over and over and over again. I was hoping that they would do something a little bit different. WandaVision looks the most different that the MCU has ever done, and that's what gets me really excited for WandaVision. Um, and gets me excited for other projects like Deadpool 3. Now knowing that they are actually going to be moving forward with an R rating and that it's going to be in continuity. So that's exciting. That's very, very exciting. Um, and I mean, this is all good news. I think this is all really good news. And I think that there's just, I don't really have any complaints. I'm really excited to see Deadpool 3. I really enjoyed the first Deadpool. Deadpool 2, I liked. It wasn't a big hit for me. I know a lot of people like Deadpool 2. I was not big on Deadpool 2. I found it, again, kind of my similar feelings with the Marvel films. It felt like a retread, didn't feel like it was hitting any new ground. And I do hope that's what Deadpool 3 feels like. Curious to know who's going to direct it. I don't know if they'll get David Leitch to return to direct it, or it'd be funny if they brought Tim Miller back after he just crapped the bed all over with Terminator. Um, you remember how bad of a box office that was? Yeah. So I'm curious to know who they're going to get for directing this film. I know they're working on the script, but I'm pretty sure they know who their director is. I'm just curious to know who that's going to be and when they'll announce it. Obviously, sometime this year, but when. Um, but yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to know that Deadpool 3 is happening and that it's going to be, at least in terms of on the surface, retaining the qualities of the first two films. At least what it sounds like. Hopefully, we'll see. But speaking of this year, another news story that broke today was Sony Pictures had confirmed today that Morbius, yes, the Jared Leto Marvel flick, has been delayed again. The original date for Morbius was March 19th of this year. Now its new date is October 8th of this year. Now there is a lot of chatter going around right now that because with the new variant that's happening right now with the pandemic and a couple of other production delays, that may not be the only announcement that we get. I mean, obviously we're going to hear a lot more. I mean, we heard about Damien Chazelle's next film. What was it? Babylon, I think it's called. That one was delayed, at least production-wise, to 2022. So, it's apparent that we are going to get more delays again. I'm curious to know what the delays will be, how big the delays will be, and more or less how it's going to affect a lot of release schedules, particularly with WB, because with their new hybrid release schedule, I'm curious to know how that will affect certain things, particularly with the theatrical experiences. I'm just kind of curious on that front, if that indeed affects anything or not. Or because I've heard also that Disney is now considering, again, don't take it to the bank. That's why it's not a news story today, but I'm just bringing it up just because it's the talk on the internet right now. There are rumors going around that Disney might adapt that hybrid release style that WB is doing with HBO Max, and they might release Black Widow with Premiere Access, which to this day we still don't know what Premiere Access means, even from that investor call. That, again, I said if you market it correctly and you give all the benefits, I I think that doing Premier Access is totally fine. I think it actually is a benefit because you do need safeguards. We have never been through this type of release format before, so I think it makes a lot of sense to have safeguards in place when releasing films in this manner. I think that you do need that. And Premiere Access, listen, Mulan we know didn't work, and Mulan didn't work for a few reasons. I mean, like we said before, one, it was because of the quality of the film. People were not too impressed with the quality of Mulan, and then secondly was the price. No one was going to pay $30 up front to watch Mulan, plus the monthly fee that you have to pay on top of that. So it amounted to like $36, $37. No one was going to pay that much for watching Mulan. Now with Black Widow, you obviously need to market it correctly. Don't do another $30 Premiere Access. Like I said, I think that if you market that around, like, I would say like $10. I mean, plus with the monthly fee that you're getting the amount of a ticket. So I think that maybe that might suffice, maybe like a $10. And again, if you push the best quality, the bonus features, the documentaries, the behind the scenes, I think that if you push all that, I think that you'll attract a lot more people. And I know that some people are hesitant on it, but again, once the option is available, I think that a lot of people will change their minds. And of course, when they read into what they get with it, I'm pretty sure people will be attracted to getting such thing. If you give them the 4K, if you give them because don't do 1080p. That was also the other problem with Mulan. They did the 1080p version, but then you can go to like other services online. They had the 4K resolution. So provide them the 4K, provide them the bonus features, provide all that stuff that I just mentioned, and I believe that you will attract people to watch, the films that are coming to their service within this hybrid thing. I'm still completely against doing hybrid releases, but since we're living in an era where hybrid releases is the new craze, as some people say, um, I say market it correctly, and you'll get your money. I think that that's really just how what it ultimately amounts to, because I mean, I'll pay $10. I have no problem paying $10 to watch Black Widow if I'm getting a 4K resolution and all that stuff. I have no problem paying that on top of a monthly fee. I have no problem with that. $30, that was a bit much for Mulan, especially when it was just a 1080p version. Um, but I think that there are benefits to safeguards, and like I said, I think there are benefits, and I do believe that it should be something ingrained with the hybrid releases in general. I think that you should have this safeguard versus relying on the monthly fee only, like HBO Max is doing. So, yeah, I think it's a good move. Um, I went off guard or went off topic, but getting back to Morbius, delays are going to happen again. We know this, mainly in the first quarter. We know that a lot of movies are going to get pushed because of the new variant that's now running around, and also with just in general with how the releases are right now. It seems a bit too soon, with a lot of shutdowns and a lot of places not opening right now. It makes sense to delay it. It just makes sense. But I'm more curious to know how this affects hybrid releases and how it affects the revenue that comes in from those types of releases. I'm very curious to see how that plays out because Morbius does not have a hybrid release. That's why they moved it. They haven't. They don't. Sony, from to my knowledge, doesn't have a streaming service. If they do, it's very minimal. No one knows about it. Um, Not like WB or Disney, um, but it will be interesting to see what's going to happen with these first quarter releases. And ultimately, again, with the hybrid releases, what does that mean? What does that mean for the films that are meant to come in theaters and on digital release? What does that mean for those films? What does that mean for the films in the theatrical front? Do they move a certain date theatrically and they keep this date here and then they just stretch out, or do they have to move both dates? Like, how does this work? Um, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting thing to see progress in the next few days. We'll know probably by the end of this week. We'll probably know a few more delays. I'm pretty much counting on it. I can't tell you which ones, but there'll definitely be more delays. We'll just have to wait and see what those delays will be, particularly with hybrid releases. That will definitely be the big question. So, all right, next project. Sorry, I just had to take a minute. All right, next thing we're going to talk about in terms of projects and releases. Something else that broke today was Darren Aronofsky, of all people, announced his next project after his critically acclaimed movie Mother, which admittedly I have not seen yet, but I've seen bits of it online, and needless to say, yeah, there's quite the conversation to be had with it. Let's just put it that way. But he's announced what his next film is going to be, and that film is called The Whale. Now, to give a synopsis, this is what was provided. The Whale talks about a 600-pound recluse hiding away from the world and slowly eating himself to death, and he is given one last chance at redemption. Now, they have also stated that the person who will star as this quote-unquote 600-pound recluse will be Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser, of course, from the Mummy trilogy and from the recent Doom Patrol show. He is now set to star in this film. So a couple of things that come to mind to it. I mean, obviously, Darren Aronofsky is known for his visual imagery and a lot of his, how should I say it? I wouldn't say reactionary form of directing, but very, very conversational form of directing efforts. I mean, his pieces generate a lot of discussion. Requiem from a Dream. What was that film that he did? I think it was like Pi. I think that's what it was called. I've never seen bits of it, and I was just like insanely intrigued. I've yet to finish it, but I need to rewatch the beginning and finish the rest because it was just really, really trippy. So I'm curious to know how that direction is going to go. From what I read up on it, it's a smaller project for Darren Aronofsky, and his cinematographer apparently stated that they're looking to do something a little bit more tame, apparently. So this might be a bit of a departure from him. This might be something in the vein of The Wrestler, which I heard is a little bit more of, it's at least from what my understanding of it, I have not seen The Wrestler, but I've heard that The Wrestler is more grounded versus his other well-known projects like Requiem from a Dream, for example. So this might be something along those lines. My other thought about it is, what is Brendan Fraser's preparation going to be to play a 600-pound recluse? Obviously, he's not going to generate 600 pounds. I don't know, but obviously he's going to have to wear like a fat suit or something. But it'll be very curious to see how his preparation for this goes, because I am not big. I mean, I've not seen a lot of Brendan Fraser, so I can't really comment on him as a performer. I've seen bits of him on Doom Patrol, and he's funny. But in terms of this effort, this seems like something really different for him. And I'm really curious to see what his preparation for this is going to be, what it will, what the challenges will be for him as a performer, and ultimately, what he brings to it. Because even though the synopsis gives you a little bit of something, it's still very mysterious. There's not a lot of description to it. I mean, 600-pound recluse, clearly he seems like he's lonely or he's depressed, and he is given a chance to redeem himself. It might be an uplifting story, who knows? Or this can be another Aronofsky fest, or if we are to believe the cinematographer, it might be something a little bit more tame. So I think that in general, this sounds like a very fascinating idea. The Whale throws me off, the title. Perhaps they're just mocking the physical nature of the character, there might be a creature. I don't know. That's one of my fascinations with Darren Aronofsky, is that I can't really predict what he's going to do. So I'm really excited to see what he does with The Whale, and just in general what Brendan Fraser brings to the role, and what his preparation process or his creative process will be with this particular role. Speaking of creative processes, let's now talk about Cherry. I was wanting to talk about this when it was released, but I just didn't have a lot of news stuff to really amount to creating a news collaboration video. This might be a very short collaboration video also, or news collab video. Again, I'll figure out a name. Uh, this might be a very short video, I just realized, so just FYI. Um, but now let's talk about Cherry. Cherry, of course, being the next film, the Russo brothers, since we talked about Marvel earlier today. Of course, the Russo brothers, you guys know, directed two of the Captain America movies, two of the Avengers movies, and now they are now changing their focus from comic book films to something a little bit more different. A film called Cherry. And the synopsis and the plot of the film is kind of mysterious, but from what I've gathered from it, from my research, it's a film that's going to talk about PTSD, and it's going to be a film that talks about drug abuse. And they released a clip from the film, and I watched it, and I got a few things to say about it. First of which is that I got a really odd vibe from Tom Holland, and I kind of dig that. Not odd in that I think that he he seems off-putting. Like there's something about the character that doesn't speak truth. Like there's something that he is like. It seems like there's rage inside this character at this point. I don't really know what, but I typed this thought up and tell me if you guys think if I'm on the money or about if I'm too far off base. Some of you have actually maybe have seen the film. I've heard some reviews online about it, but tell me if I'm somewhere in the ballpark. It seems to me, I'm just taking a guess at what the character's motivations are. It seems to be that he is looking to fill a hole in his life through a path of violence, but he doesn't really understand the consequence of violent consumptions. That's just my particular theory on what this character's motivations might be. If I'm completely on the money, let me know if anybody had seen the film. If I'm completely off base, let me know. But I do also know that the movie is split into chapters, so it's shows you certain moments from his life. I don't know if they're out of order or if they're in sync. I do hope they're actually in sync because I would like to see the descent or the evolution of said character versus doing flip floppy. I'd rather not do that. And all jumbled. I don't know. I'm not really. It only works on certain occasions, like Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction famously utilizes that timeline type of story tactic of just having certain moments happen at certain times, and then everything eventually intersects. Like I don't mind that storytelling when it's utilized well, but it's only utilized well in very, very certain regards, and it doesn't work really at all. It only works on small occasions, like Pulp Fiction. So I'm curious to see if Cherry if that is the way that they're working with these chapters, or if they are going beat for beat. I also got to say though, even though I like the motivation for the character, at least my theory of what the motivation might be, um, I'm not sure if I really like it because the hole that I see being in his life is love. And I think that his girlfriend may or may not die or may not leave him because of his drug abuse, possibly. Um, and I'm not sure how I feel about that being his motivation. I'm not sure how I feel. If again, this is all just a theory. I'm not sure if this is the actual synopsis, but I'm literally gathering this from a minute and 30 seconds of a film. So just if I'm right on the money, let me know. But if I'm way off base, let me know. Um, but it seems like that's where they're going. Like that this girl character is gonna probably be in the film for a little bit, and then she's gonna disappear once he gets enrolled into the military and everything. And I do believe that's gonna be his motivation. I get a really really strong vibe from it. But just from Tom Holland, I mean, again, I get an odd vibe, but I dig it. I dig the oddness. I dig the questionability, if that's even a word. My doubt. Let me put it that way. My doubt about his motivations, because he sounds like he's saying one thing, but when you look at his face, you're like, I don't really think he thinks that way. So I do like that. So Tom Holland is definitely keeping my interest. I also have to say that I actually liked hearing some of the behind the scenes stuff about this film, as as I was leading to with Brendan Fraser doing some preparation. I liked hearing a lot about Tom Holland's preparation. That stuff is really motivating to me, as trying to be a performer of some kind. I heard that he lost like 30 pounds and then gained that 30 pounds back. So So that's really, that's really cool to hear. That's really inspiring to me to hear. I won't get into it, but um, uh, as I discussed previously on this channel, I've liked to operate a certain way, and all I'll say is that I can kind of relate to that story. I'll just put it that way. I won't really reveal anything. I plan to do like a video to explain that whole experience once we've got the film released and everything like that. Believe me, I'll explain everything, when I'm not being all shrouded in mystery. I will definitely provide a clear explanation. Um, but for the time being, I will just say that I relate to the story in some capacities in terms of weight. I can understand the physical aspects. I'll just put it that way. I can understand the physical aspects of performing um, in this particular manner of, like for character motivations and all this stuff. Not just because there are some people who do um, weight loss and weight gain, and you kind of think to yourself, is it really needed? Like what really motivates you to do that? What's the motivation to do it? It shouldn't just be for the simplicity of, well, everyone does it. There should be a reason behind why you lost the weight. And while I will say that I think it's really great to hear that Tom Holland did that, I'm also hoping that it plays to the plot. I hope that there's a reason why his weight went down and went back up. I hope it's not just to show physical change. I hope that there's actually a fundamental character reason for why his weight is a certain way and how it plays to his environment and all that stuff. Because anyone can lose weight for a role. I mean, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's extremely difficult. I mean, it depends on your target weight, and of course where you're at in terms of, your weight in general. Um, but the most difficult question to always answer is why? Why are you doing it? And if your answer is, well, I'm just doing it just because, I don't like that. I like to know exactly like why does this character need to look this way? Why does this character need to represent himself or herself in this particular way? In this visual appearance? Why is that needed? And if you can't give me a straight answer for that, then I don't really find myself intrigued or quite how should I say it? I don't find myself quite invested in that preparation if there's really nothing creatively speaking there. If you're just doing it just to lose weight, again, more power to you to getting to your target weight. But if there's no real motivation behind it, character-wise, then why are you doing it? So, but I can relate to what Tom did in some capacities. Again, I won't say how, but I can relate to the story in some regards. Um, so, so props to Tom Holland. I think that was really, really cool of him to do that. But again, I hope it plays the character, not just for the sake of doing it. So, but speaking of comic book actors, I'm trying to find a way to transition into the next story. Let's talk about Ray Fisher, the ongoing story, which I will say right now, this will probably be the last time I bring this up. Because now it's becoming repetitive. Because here's what's going on. So finally, a rep from WarnerMedia has commented on the Ray Fisher investigation going on. Somebody has commented on it, and well, they had this to say. This is coming from the Wrap. This is what they had to say about it. So, quote, the investigation was conducted by an outside law firm and led by a former federal judge. Sorry, I couldn't get that out of my mouth. And then he goes on to say this, quote, more than 80 people were interviewed. We have full confidence in its thoroughness and integrity, and rebuttable action has been taken. The investigation has concluded, and it is time to move on. So now that seems rather straightforward. They're just saying that we've done an investigation, it's done, we've taken action. We can't really do anything else beyond that. Now, Ray Fisher had actually come out and he had denied the flash reports that were running around with him stepping down from, or him being written out of the Flash, which we talked about in the last episode. He went on Twitter. I won't say the full Twitter thing, but I'll just say the one quote that he brought up, which was this. He said, "I did not publicly step down from anything." Now, um, here's where I give my final thoughts on just this whole Ray Fisher thing. And now that the rep has commented on and all this stuff, here's where I'm coming from. So, as a performer, he is owed one thing: money. That's it. He's just owed his paycheck. And believe me, I support him in still fighting the good fight. But in terms of what he is owed, he's owed money. And these are my honest thoughts. I mean, before I've been like commenting on certain things, but now that we've gotten to this point, I feel the need to just give my honest thoughts on this, because really at the end of the day, he's owed money. Because the studio does not owe you an explanation for their decision making on manners like The Flash. I know it's a cruel thing, and I preach that performers should be notified, but it's their right to not do so. So that's, and to comment on Ray Fisher's tweet, no one ever said you had to publicly step down. We'll know when we can know by the studio. I love that Ray Fisher is fighting the good fight, but sometimes it's like, dude, common sense, man. The studio makes that decision, not you. You're owed a paycheck. You don't hold the rights to the character. That's just how business goes. And also, if you make it clear that you have no interest in working for DC because of the man in charge, then don't be upset because they made a decision based on your public decision. And I don't buy that this story is false. The story about, Ray Fisher is still in the Flash and stuff. No, it's true. He won't be in the Flash or returning a cyborg anytime soon. All the signs are there, guys. I mean, come on, it's all laid out for you. With him not liking the man in charge, Walter Hamada, with him going on Twitter and all this stuff, you really think that WB is going to be like, yeah, let's let him come on another set of ours? No, he's not going to come back. So as WB puts it, I think it's time to move on, because, I mean, let Ray continue his fight. I mean, and let WB move on elsewhere with their DC projects as they're doing. But I think it really is time to move on, because, especially for Ray, it's really time to move on, because there's nothing else he can really do. Instead of doing this, maybe direct this towards other future endeavors and collaborations. Create a policy for certain work ethics and behaviors that he will not cooperate under certain conditions, and vice versa for the crews that he is working with in the future. Because at the end of the day, with this whole Justice League situation, nobody is saying that what WB might have done was right in any way. The abuse, the trauma, any of the, verbal or physical abuse that was taken on set, or any type of behavior. No one's saying that was justified in any respect. But at this point, this is a directionless road for Ray Fisher. It will lead him nowhere, and it will eventually bury him. So I would say, if he still wants to have a career and still thrive and still have something to do in the future as an actor, I say move on from this, because this is now it's just leading you nowhere. It really is leading you nowhere. And I'm not saying that you should drop it just because, the company was right or whatever, but in this type of business, not saying that anything is justified, but sometimes when you do all you can do, that's all you can do. So, I'm not saying that, we've had the Me Too movement and all these other things that have happened, and I am really happy that people like this are getting removed out of industries, and that we're finally getting some cleaner productions because of that. But sometimes with fights like this, something like this, which is very, very sketchy stuff, we don't even have any evidence provided by Ray Fisher. I mean, that's the thing that still gets to me. This is not like something that has evidence and has like videotapes or whatever. This is someone who has been all words, all talk, but no game. There's nothing been presented in terms of evidence to support his claims. And again, I don't know legally if he can do that or not, but we still have seen nothing. Now, if he did have proof, I would be saying something completely different. But since he's provided no proof and he's provided no evidence, he's just made a bunch of talk and he's made a bunch of comments. It's now at this point, we're just kind of in a repetitive, like, we're in a circle, guys. And Ray Fisher is in that circle too. And I'm just saying, Ray Fisher, I think it's time to move on. I really think it's time to move on. Yes, we know that something happened on the Justice League set. We all know this. Something happened there, regardless. I mean, clearly, no, not, clearly everybody there was having an issue somewhere, you know. So I think it's time to move on. The company is saying that they're doing that they've taken action. So we're not going to say obviously what that action is, but they've taken action. So instead of holding on to this, I would say it's just move on and take this behavior to new projects and have this not happen again for other new projects. Let this be a lesson to anybody who wants to bring in this type of attitude on sets, you know, and have it not happen again for future projects. Ray Fisher can do this. I think that he can go to his new collaborators and tell them, listen, we're not going to do like that. We're not. We're going to be something different. We're going to let creative freedom. We're going to do this and that. You know, I think that that's what he should do, not hold on to this, because now it's leading nowhere. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, again, I hope he makes a better choice. I mean, not a better choice, but you know what I mean. Just hopefully he gets back on the right track again as with his career, because right now his career is kind of a sinking ship, to be honest. Because really, no one's going to really work with him after this if he continues on with this, you know, whatever you like to call it. Um, but uh, but yeah, yeah. Hopefully he gets on the right track because I liked him as Cyborg. I mean, I thought he was a fine Cyborg, and I don't wish to see people's careers crumble to the ground because of stuff like this. I think he has a potential to bounce back, but I hope that he understands that in the very, very soon because, well, his career is sinking real, real fast because of him still being involved in this. So, yeah, again, it's his choice, but I would leave this because there's nothing really, really else to do that I can do at this moment. All right, and the last story for today is going to be Malcolm and Mary. The first trailer for Malcolm and Mary came out, being directed and written by Sam Levinson. Now, that name sounds familiar. That was the same director, and I believe he also wrote it, who did the first season and is also doing the second season of Euphoria, which stars Zendaya, which this film also stars Zendaya, and John David Washington. Now, the synopsis provided is a filmmaker and his girlfriend discuss their past relationships while returning home from a movie premiere. It is presented in a black and white format, and I like it. I like the aesthetic of the black and white format. And the film was shot during COVID-19. It was a very, very isolated piece. I think that it's only done in one house, so it's done from the outside and the inside of this one place. So I don't think you're going to see anything else beyond that. And the trailer looked interesting. I'll say that. The trailer looked interesting. It looks like it's about a toxic relationship, or perhaps something isn't really there. Like maybe one of these characters doesn't really exist. Presumably, maybe it might be Mary, played by Zendaya. But I gotta also say, while the trailer was interesting, I'm also very nervous because if you read interviews, it was pretty much all experimental. Like they just kind of conjured up ideas on set to utilize for the story. They just kind of, again, kind of similar to Locked Down. It was kind of on the fly. It was kind of like, let's do a movie. Okay, here's an idea. That scares me. That's very scary to me because I like to have some form of roadmap when we enter production. I just don't really like the idea of going, hey, let's do this idea and let's completely switch the story around. You know, I don't really like that on set. After set, that's different. But like with moving the pieces around, like in post production, that's different. On set, that's different. And I don't know how I feel about that. You know, just making stuff up on the fly and seeing if it really works. I don't really like that approach. And I hope that the film works in the experimental way that it was filmed. And it looks interesting. I mean, some people have been saying it looks kind of hammed up, and I didn't really feel that from the trailer. I thought it looked fairly tame. I think. I mean, it has a unique flair of that Sam Levinson. I've seen a little bit of Euphoria, particularly the Christmas special that premiered not too long ago. I believe it was it was like literally just a restaurant scene. Zendaya is great, by the way. I've just from seeing that one episode really impressed me, and of course Sam Levinson, who directed that episode, and I believe he wrote it as well. So and I quite enjoyed John David Washington. I liked him in Tenet. I thought he was pretty strong in that film. Not in like Oscar worthy strong, but like fairly strong, I would say, both physically and just performance wise. I thought he was good. And I think the pair up looks interesting enough. This is pretty much an acting showcase. I mean, that's what this film's all about. It's about the acting. It's not just about the story. It's also about the acting. That's pretty much what this film's all about. So um, we shall see. I mean, it looks fairly interesting. I'm just very nervous based on how the production went. Very similar to my feelings with Lockdown. So um, we shall see, but I don't know, kind of wishy-washy on this film. I don't know, but it looks potentially quite riveting and quite intriguing. But I don't know. I feel like something's up. I feel like someone isn't there. I really believe it. I really feel like someone isn't really there. And I do believe it's probably like Mary or something. Because it feels like there has to be like a twist of some kind. It would just feel kind of, um, it would just feel kind of, how should I say it? Especially, I don't know how long the film is, but um, I don't know how I feel about like revelation after revelation about their relationship. I think that that's a cool thread and a cool and interesting story thread to use throughout the film, but I hope that there's more to it than just revelations, if that makes any sense. I hope that there is some intrigue and some other elements that they present, but we'll see. We'll see how it pans out, but that is pretty much it for today, guys. I mean, we've touched on a lot of things today, particularly with Marvel and with DC in some capacity. But how do you guys feel about all this stuff, particularly with the whole Ray Fisher thing? And I would also say with the Cherry first look, I would say that those are the two stories that I was quite interested to talk about today. Um, but what do you guys think about all the stories? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If I seem a little wishy-washy, I've just you know just been uh, just been kind of isolated. Just again, just an update. I've been kind of waiting for certain things to go back to some normalcy. But so if I seem a little wishy-washy, just know, just you know, just trying to do some quarantine time, but or some isolated time. Um, so yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and again, just let me know your thoughts about all this stuff, and hope you guys are also enjoying my review for Herself. Really like that movie. Um, but yeah, so that's it for this video, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye. Be safe, be protected, wear gloves, stay distant, and make sure that 2021 is a cleaner year than 2020. So, um, yeah. So I'll catch you guys in the next video.